Now let's move our focus all the way down the coast towards Cape Town, where, Ayesha, you attended the Gender-Based Violence at Sea seminar yesterday and today, and you got to speak to women seafarers about their experience at sea. And it seems a space was really created for these women finally to speak their truth.
Marcel, this was a one-of-a-kind seminar where women who work at sea were able to come and tell their stories. And just listening to these women, a lot of them had the opportunity to talk about their experiences for the very first time. So they were very pleased that finally they have a platform to talk. And some of them actually became quite emotional talking about what they had to experience and talking about how difficult it is for them even to talk on a public platform like they had yesterday and today. I also spoke to some of the women who have now started organizations to try and help women seafarers. And this is what one of the women had to say about what she has experienced and also what other women seafarers had to say to her about what they experienced over the years sailing, and also the fact that a lot of these experiences that have happened to them happened on international vessels. This is what she had to say.
As a young cadet or a young junior officer, you need that record book signed. And so as a young child, you ask yourself, you know, do I have options? And the reporting system on board is so horrible that if the senior officer who is the captain or the chief engineer is the one who is your perpetrator, it makes it difficult for you to actually report that or even to discuss it. Another problem being who will believe me, and the stigma around gender-based violence. Do you want to be labeled as the child that was raped by the captain, that had altercations with the captain? Another question then comes, will I ever get another employment in this company? Because that is also another issue. Young cadets and officers that tend to want to be vocal about these issues fear that they will lose their jobs.
Ayesha, so many striking things in that soundbite there. Who will believe me? One, something that we see reflected in so many other spheres in South Africa. But then also in that space where the hierarchy is so entrenched in terms of position, who can speak to who, how they speak to each other, it must make it even more difficult for especially young women to navigate. Now, you've listened to all of these women speak, Ayesha. What are we hearing from authorities or those in leadership positions in the seafaring space?
Marcel, you've raised so many important points just from that soundbite. And, you know, for people here who in the workplace who experience any kind of abuse, they still have an option of going home and being in a safe space. Imagine being on a ship for many weeks, for many months. Where do you go? Who do you speak to? And in many of these cases, the ones in charge, the captains, are the ones who are the perpetrators. But coming back to your question, the South African Maritime Safety Authority, they've now taken up the cudgels, and they say, with the help of the Department of Transport as well as the Department of Welfare, they're going to be creating more platforms for women seafarers to raise these challenges that they are experiencing. But they've also started today what they call an activation, where they went to ships in Cape Town Harbour to go and speak to those in charge and to go and speak to the captains and ask them, do you know what's happening on some of your vessels and what are you doing about it? What we heard at the seminar, that some of the big ship owners, that they do have GBV policies, but quite frankly, a lot of those policies are not effective.
And for us then as SAMHSA to be seen, most important, to be dealing with the cases as and when they are reported. I think as SAMHSA we did mention that there has been cases that are reported and how we have then been able to go in and resolve the issues or concerns that have been raised. It's creating the platform, it's creating the awareness to say we are here and we are available to be able to respond to the issues. We are also lucky in the fact that whilst we look at South African seafarers, we've also got the IMO. that allows us a platform to say it is not only about the South African seafarers, but it is every seafarers that uses the global water, that we need to all, as different member states, ensure that we've got the right policies and we've also got the right platforms to be able to address all of the GBV cases that are reported by seafarers globally.
We'll wrap those conversations with our two reporters, eNCA's Ayesha Ismail and Nkobile Matala, reporting both from Durban as well as in Cape Town on two very, very important stories for women in those spaces. We thank them for their reporting this evening.